Good morning, Mr. Fatade.
Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning, Kayode.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo. And good morning, dear viewers.
Like I said, I hope you didn't see the way.
He's actually abusing my people because that's a direct translation from the Yoruba language.
Oh, dear. All right, then. Well, let's start off with The Guardian today. Oh, yeah, look at that. They're focusing on the theme for the day. Who knows how long more this will feature. Labour threatens to shut down economy over minimum wage. To resist moving wage to concurrent list. Vows to end lawmakers' careers, in plural. Speaker promises to address workers' complaints. So it is a big one, and it's all over the place. Perhaps, has it been a long time coming, but anything new in terms of approach or anything for you on this one?
Well, I think we cannot be cherry-picking aspects of federalism that we want. Is it that we are a really federal state or we are not? And so that's why I support moving wages away from the, it should be a concurrent matter. Because if I'm hiring you, I reserve the right of what I want to pay you. You are my staff. And I've been asking. I mean, we all know the internally generated revenue of each state, the one accrued from the federation account, everything. So why must a gentleman in Rivers, a gentleman in Yobe, or even Osun State, earning the same like a gentleman in Lagos or Rivers? It's wrong. But I agree to another thing again. The National Assembly must set a minimum wage level, as we have in other federal states, that this is the minimum wage per hour. You should not pay below this. But anything after that is left to respective states to determine what they will pay their workers. And I think it's a highly an overestimation of the importance of labor or labor unions, thinking they will end the careers of National Assembly members. If they're able to do that, they should have done that quite a while ago.
So that's in principle, if it does apply, how come that, because that's part of the argument Labour put forward, the governors, we hired them. They all earn the same thing.
Then we actually need to talk about that too. I support that. All governors should not earn the same thing. In the United States now, the salaries of the senators are paid by their respective states. So they are not all on the same pay. So those are issues. We can't be cherry-picking federalism. And so if we are going to start with this, so be it. All governors should not be on the same wage level. I agree.
But isn't that also putting a question mark on some of the agencies of government that determine those salaries? The RMAFC, for instance, Mokwa calls them RAMFAC. Isn't that also going to kind of say, you know what, you guys have no jobs no more, right? Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Committee, who determine the salaries? What happens to that?
They should only fix salaries of federal workers. I mean, it's wrong for the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Committee to be fixing salaries of people you are not going to employ. And that's the issue. I mean, it's the same thing. Another analogy for me is what you have with universities, whereby you talk about full autonomy or you are not having autonomy. I mean, University of Ibadan is not the same thing as University of Uyo. You can't be on the same salary. It's not done anywhere.
But they're all federal investors.
Pardon me?
They're all federal investors.
Where at the same level.
Oh.
So because you are correct, they have one employer at that level.
All right.
But what about state universities?
Which also has to fight for.
Yeah.
And when they get the wage, it cuts across
everybody.
So who knows how we'll approach that moving forward. But another matter of in contention as well. Return £4.2 million Ibori loot to Delta State. Reps orders FG. Look at the riders now. Clark gives FG 7-day ultimatum to hand over money. Falana urges FG to toe same line when they return monies to Plateau by Yelsa. Serap seeks clarification over planned use of Ibori loot, says over $600 million Abacha loot was earmarked for same projects. Pay returned money to Delta varsity students, Showore says. So, different perspectives on this one now.
Again, it comes back to the same argument I made in the earlier story. We either are a federal state or we are not. And so I stand with those who said the money should be given back to Delta State. It's their money. That's where I stand.
Even the government has said, well, it's going to go for this, and that project.
Yeah, but because the era of an omnipotent or how do I put it now? Omniscient everything federal government is what we should fight against. You can't be everywhere. Fine, the agreement was signed between a sovereign state as in Nigeria and Britain, but then the money was taken out of the treasury of Delta State government. So it should go back to Delta State.
So do you see this ending up in court if government says, well?
And I would love that. I hope the Attorney General of Delta State or his staffs are watching. They should test that in the court, sincerely.
Interesting. That's the Guardian today.
Well, take a look at Vanguard newspaper leads with security, and you see bandits abduct 100 miners, kill 10 in Zamfara. And that's according to emirs. But the riders perhaps shed more light. Deploy more security men to areas affected by herdsmen attacks, banditry, Senate tells NSA. Take fights to Boko Haram enclaves. Reps tell military chiefs. Army has achieved commendable success against terrorism, banditry, others. That's Chief of Army Staff. And you see, Sokoto bans self-acclaimed security volunteers. So it's quite a lot, Mr. Fatade, when you look at, I mean, we just talked about labor, and I was thinking just maybe this will be the lead for Vanguard, but clearly we still have a very present insecurity challenge. But when you hear advice coming from the Senate, you see reps telling military chiefs what to do, is this ideal really? Because you expect that those in charge of security know well enough to know what to do per time rather than always getting advice from different quarters.
Well, I do not think the Senate is out of order in giving advice, but the issue for me is that they just screened those service chiefs how many weeks back, and I'm sure they have told them that. The only other thing is when you ask them to deploy more men, at present, how many soldiers do we have left in Nigeria? I mean, what's our recruitment level? And then we have issues in Northeast, we have in Northwest, we are beginning to have in parts of the southern, I mean some parts of some states in southern part now. So how many soldiers we have in North Central? How many soldiers are you actually going to deploy? We know the resources have stretched in. But I think the other thing, that lead story that speaks about mining or miner has been abducted in Zamfara, I think that flies in the face of what the governor of Zamfara said about some days back, when he said that he does not know why federal government should ban mining. I hope he can see the nexus now. So because mining is one of those things responsible for banditry in Zamfara state. But it's who we are. But again, we must commend the service chiefs. I was happy seeing them visiting Zamfara how many days back. It shows commitment, it shows trying to be on the ground. So, but then they can't put more boots on the ground. I don't know where the Senate expect them to find those men. We are stretched thin already.
Okay, you see this one right on top of the nameplate. Another angle, I guess. Reps throw out bill as labor protests cripples activities nationwide. That's minimum wage decentralization. Have the reps thrown out
the bill? Maybe that's a new piece of information then.
Or maybe that's a reason to check page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. I see the pictures on the front page showing the protest. But on a final note, I think you referenced this. Yoruba group warns Ogun, Ondo, or your governors against terror attacks on schools. It's on page 10. That's a shocker, isn't it?
Now, what's shocking you there? The warning or that we are under threat of terror attacks?
The fact that, I mean, the trend seems to be moving to the southwest.
But that's logical now. I mean, you could see they've conquered, as it were, northern parts. They are now north central. We've seen what's happening in Nasarawa. We've seen what is happening we've seen what is happening in Niger. So the next logical place is southwest. And I hope you know we got people from Ogun State who are actually now in Benin Republic, having been displaced by herdsmen. So they are at our doorpost already.
Okay. Well, that's sports news right on the back page of the Vanguard this morning, but I'll let you do the choosing.
Don't even know where to begin with what you just said now, Cardi. Daily Trust newspaper is next. And NLC to National Assembly withdraw minimum wage bill or face nationwide strike. And the riders lobby to kill bill, reps say, and Labour says will not. Protests in Abuja and states it's part of restructuring, says Afenifere Let's dialogue, ACF says. We've spoken largely about this already. But then what do you make of that ambit where the reps are calling on Labour to lobby to kill the bill?
It's the democratic culture. But I'm not sure we are fueling into that. The labor unions, they are people who are labor members before, union members who are in the National Assembly. I'm sure they must have sympathetic senators, sympathetic reps and members from different parts of Nigeria. So you must seek to be heard. That's all. But then again, protest is germane to democracy. That's where it's their right to protest. And it's the right of National Assembly members to seek to pass laws or bills for Nigeria. So the two sides are doing what they are supposed to be doing.
Interesting. Well, of course, the pictures on the front page demonstrate the protests in different parts of the country. Well, the black strip you'll see on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper under the pictures on the front page, Shasha market crisis, traders express displeasure over release of suspects. And then the question you want to ask is, what's going on here?
I hope Mr. Frankenberg is listening. He's in the best position to answer that. But we can speak about that. It does not do well to law and order when people have been arrested for crime perpetrated and you release them. Yeah, I mean, that's why we have that blind woman as the picture of true justice. Justice is blind. Justice must be done and be seen to have been done. And then you make people resort to jungle justice when they cannot get justice through the legal means. That's the reason.
Well, that's the Daily Trust today.
All right, take a look at the Nigerian Tribune next. Reps want disbursement of Ibori's £4.2 million loot halted. Members wanted return to Delta State. Funds looted by Deriye Alamiseha were returned to Plateau, Delta. I beg your pardon, Plateau Bayelsa, Fatade says. IYC tackles FG, says position unacceptable and sanguine. Well, that you also talked about previously. But you equally see just above this lead story here. Bandits killed 937, kidnapped 1,927 in Kaduna in 2020. That's ascribed to a report. Kaduna Central records highest death toll. Security challenges cut across ethno-religious divides, ascribed to government. In terms of our approach, national approach to this, is it that, what do you think is missing? Because time and again, different parts of the country, you just seem to see this kind of story every now and then.
Yeah, we don't seem to have a coordinated approach to all these attacks, whether by so-called bandits or herdsmen or terrorists. And I think coming from the Kaduna State Governor is interesting, because I watched him on your station, I think yesterday, saying no negotiation, no ransom, nothing will be done. But then this was the same governor. Remember that song? I can see clearly now. Maybe he has come to a moment of epiphany. He was the one who told us that he paid people to stop killing. He said it in his first time. So what has happened? But thank God he has seen the light. But I think we need a kind of holistic approach. Each state is doing what they want to do. Zamfara is still continuing negotiating with criminals, with bandits. Katsina started, stopped, and I think it started again. So what exactly are we communicating to people? We are passing mixed messages, and that cannot help in the battle against all these attacks.
And although it's time to put an end to open grazing, that's part of what you see credited to Ondo Macban. Are these discordant tunes? Because this is what some people want to hear. But for you, if Ondo Macban is of this opinion,
I think they are welcome to that. We can't continue doing what was done centuries or ages ago. Things are changing. All right, we have seen what open grazing is causing. Yeah. And then climate change is actually a factor now. The certification is on the rise. And so we must look at the environmental factors too, inducing this kind of movement. But we have seen, and it has been shown, and it can be done, even under the regional governments of old. We actually have ranches in at least 2 regions, and they were raising animals. So it's doable.
There you go. That's Tribune.
Well, if you take a look at the Nigerian News Direct's front page, this is what you find. EFCCC uncovers 70 billion naira oil subsidy fraud, as Bauer testifies against Nadabo Energy in 1.4 billion naira subsidy fraud. So,
good luck. I wish the prosecution will be successful. What was the prosecution success rate?
Mr. Fatade, I'm not putting my question yet.
No, I'm just saying good luck. So I'm sorry to have preempted you. I'm just saying good luck. I mean, instead of, we have seen enough of internet fraudsters, so-called Yahoo boys. Those are the small fries that the EFCCC is going after. But I hope they will succeed in this one. Remember, in the last 2 weeks, about 2 major cases have been thrown out by judges. I mean, the justice is not plucked from a vacuum. You can't give what you don't have, so they say. And so when you don't have diligent prosecution, where do we go? So good enough that the new chair, I wish him all the best, testified. But I hope the prosecution will be done diligently, that the judge in this matter will not be forced to throw away the matter again.
Yeah, so you think that some of these cases being thrown out is as a result of lack of diligent prosecution? Or I mean, isn't
we are following, and we can see. And so are you not, I mean, all the judges cannot be biased against EFCC. When you don't prosecute your case very well, a judge will ask, I mean, you cannot just dash justice out. You must show evidence. And I'm not saying that those crimes might not have been committed allegedly, but it's up to you. I mean, and that's why the English court system that we practice is up to you to show beyond reasonable doubt. You must prove why this guy deserves to be convicted. But when we can't do that, what do we do?
So it's not a case of maybe those people being innocent indeed?
No, it might not be. Not my word, it might not be. We're not sure. But when you are failing prosecuting diligently, who do we blame?
Interesting, because, I mean, for a lot of people, they think...
Are we sure there is no collusion?
Okay, well, a lot of questions you have raised.
Very many things for us to dig as journalists. And I hope our colleagues are listening to this too. You don't just pick EFCC press release that we have discovered 70 billion naira. And so what? After that, what happens? And then we are excited by those figures. It does not mean those crimes are not being committed.
Right.
But then what about, are we following the money very well?
Huge one there, Mr. Fatade. But see this one, DPR seals 86 illegal gas plants in Lagos in 2020. That's according to an official. And, you know, just leaning on what you just said, I mean, we've seen filling stations selling petrol. Now, this is away from gas, selling petrol at prices above what is naturally expected. And they've been doing this for weeks now. Is the DPR turning a blind eye? Is that something you've experienced too?
Well, you are not even sure what's the correct price again now. Whether we are full deregulation or we are partial deregulation, nobody is sure of anything. Remember again, there was this story that broke early in the week talking about how much has been spent on subsidy. So if we are being subsidized, why do we still have different prices? That's just asking. And then I hope the queues have disappeared in parts of Nigeria, whereby they resurfaced about 2 weeks ago because there is no petrol. So nobody is sure.
Oh, dear. Just on final note, banks lost 264.5 billion naira to fraudsters in 45 months. That's according to the NDIC. That looks like a lucrative one, sadly. It's on page 14, but that's Nigeria News Direct this morning.
The Blueprint newspaper has this one, leads about minimum wage. Labour storms NAS, threatens country's lockdown. Because we've spoken largely about this, insists wage must remain on exclusive list. Bill won't see light of the day, according to lawmakers. This interesting line, government won't negotiate with street dancers. PGF boss. Stories on page 6.
Street dancers?
Well, it's on the front page of the book.
No, I just want to know more. People dancing on the streets or what?
Well, it's on page 6.
That's interesting.
The details are right there.
I mean, he's like the devil's advocate. You should tell us more.
Don't shoot the message there, right?
Nobody deliver correct message in communication.
I just read the message.
But I'm giving you the feedback.
That's just a feedback.
So has the message been passed correctly?
I guess he knows the answer. Has it been passed correctly?
Well, government won't negotiate with street dancers. The story is on page 6.
That's interesting.
Very good. Of the Blueprint newspaper. Okay, but there are a number of other,
But you know, our government is negotiating with all manner of people now.
Really?
Which of the government? Federal, state?
That's what we are asking him.
So you won't tell us who the street dancers are. Now we're interpreting different things.
Blueprint, this is on you. Okay?
Please watch the next stories you read carefully.
Okay. Well, right under the nameplate is this one again. Bandit attack another Zamfara school, kill 13. Very unpleasant. Stories on page 6 has a rider. We must use force against bandits, says El Rufai. I think you spoke about this earlier. But then there's this interesting one right beside the nameplate. Niger governor blasts aid as, and this is the interesting part, local fishermen identify bandits' route. The story is on page 8. So one of the things that would, naturally come as a question on the minds of many is, we've had people, dialoguing, going to the place where the bandits are. We've had, maybe the appropriate word should be criminals. We've had people identify where they are, and here is another set of local fishermen identifying the route bandits follow, and yet we're yet to pick them up. What do you think is going on here?
I don't know. And you discover that I spent the best part of the last 16, 18 months reading research done by Nigerian and non-Nigerian academics, and you find out that about these security issues. The attack line, the routes they take, the pathways they follow, the movement from the Sahel group, Mali, Cameroon, Niger, Chad that we share border with. And so the people, the citizens who bear the brunt of these attacks, they actually know the roots of these criminals. But what is happening? And then we have seen people being arrested, we have seen people being released, we have seen different negotiations. And then remember this gentleman, Islamic Eric Gumi, who negotiated with them. Part of what he told us was that the government knows where these guys are. He said that. So, I don't know too. It's something I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, we'll wait and see how governments, even though they've been responding. I think the army was saying something, hey, watch those words. That's from the army. But look at leadership today. 16 states take delivery of 1.8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine. And then they say Lagos, Kano, Kaduna take lion's share. So in terms of, the receipt and administration of these vaccines and several other policies that government seems to be making, look, you see this going on because, there are those who think, give and take, you may have about 100, 120 of these vaccines, maybe some sort of percentage that may be damaged. So, of course, the exact number may not be administered.
Yeah, it's possible. Because you see the way we got the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and then it can be stored in normal refrigerator temperature. But then in the process of moving there, we also saw the length of time they stayed on the tarmac in different places. So it is possible. But then beyond that, we do not seem to have a coherent plan from our government on how the vaccine will be distributed. Fine, we started with the online registration. I'm sure we know the portal has broken down. In fact, somebody actually got a date last week in Abuja to come and receive the vaccine. And he's not a networker. And I was watching your banter about 2 or 3 days back on whether journalists are frontline workers or we are not. And I think I agree, we are frontline workers, we are not frontline networkers. Because some African countries, I got colleagues in Ghana who are actually taking the vaccine, and in South Africa. So some African countries are treating journalists as priority. So we need to have coherent plan. Nobody is sure. Fine, we've seen the photo ops of governors, their deputy speakers and ministers taking that. And then that in a way is dousing the kind of skepticism that is trailing the administration of the vaccine, because people are skeptical. Literate people like you and I, not just illiterate. And then you begin to ask
You think that will help, that open jab?
I think so. But then do we have a coherent communication plan? Yes. There are jingles playing already on why the vaccines are important. And I foresee a time whereby it becomes another yellow fever card that you want to get outside the shores of Nigeria. Yeah. You will need the COVID-19 vaccination certificate. We need a coherent plan. Thank God we have the vaccines, 3.9 million, not up to 4 that we're expecting. And then we are a nation of whether 150 or 200 million. How far can that go?
Well, we'll see what happens, because they need to take the first and the second jab.
Yeah.
So how many will eventually get this if they are not supposed to fly without being vaccinated? You think that policy will fly?
I think it might get to that, because you know we are not existing in isolation. And then you could see what is happening in terms of the quarantine when you get to countries like Canada, UAE. You see the row we're having with Netherlands and UAE now. I think so. I don't know, but it's just me. It's a kind of what do we call that? The management now, scenario planning. That's all.
So like the wait and see approach might eventually play out as well. Who knows?
It's possible.
All right, then we do thank you for coming on. Wale Fatade, Commissioning Editor of The Conversation Africa.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're back in a moment. Stay with us.